Manufacturers Trophy, Citroën lead that handsomely. Martin Haven, and alongside me, Harry Folkard, getting ready for the start of qualifying. And as ever, of course, here, all eyes will be on this man, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. It's his home circuit, and as you say, Martin, he's won 4 of the last 6 events here, and now he won his debut event here with Vika Sport in the BMW. So we know he's fast around here. We know he loves the place. It's his home circuit, and I think even though he hasn't had a win for a while, it would be a brave man to bet against him.
And Esteban Guerreri, fastest in free practice 1. Oh, I've got new tyres on the car, he said, because he's a newcomer. Fastest in free practice 2. Well, we were doing a qualifying simulation. Maybe the other guys weren't. Just like Lopez 3 years ago, I think Guerreri's got a really great opportunity to spring a big surprise. Welcome back to Argentina as we get ready for the 8th race weekend of the FIA World Touring Car Championship to get into its serious mode. Free practice 1, free practice 2, both saw our newcomer Esteban Guerreri from Argentina go fastest of all in a Campos Racing Chevy Cruze, aided by the fact that he's got no success ballast, so running 80 kilos lighter than compatriot Jose Maria Lopez in the Citroens. Ivan Muller's second quickest in free practice 1 ahead of Norbert Mikulits, and Lopez went second quickest in free practice 2 ahead of Ivan. Ivan on a 14-race winless streak. He won the last race of last season in Qatar, but has yet to win this season. He said, "I'm not fussed, it will come." This is his 3rd longest winless streak in World Touring Cars.
It's amazing though how he seems so relaxed. You know, you see him when we saw him in Villarreal, we were talking to him about the lack of wins this season, and he seemed totally, as you say, he's quite nonchalant about it. And
yeah,
there's no major panic there. He knows it'll come, and he just needs to stay relaxed and keep doing what he does best, and he's confident and happy that it'll come back.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is totally unfazed now, and you know, it's a bit cliche to say it, and he might agree, he might not, but I just wonder if, you know, his home life being so, you know, the family are with him every weekend and all of that just helps to take the pressure away, and it just reminds you there are more, you know, it's just driving around in circles.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like he's never won a world championship, so it's still, you know, as long as it's fun, he'll continue doing it, but it's not the end of the world, and that's the big difference, I think.
It's got to be really hard when you've won as much as he has and succeeded at so many different disciplines within the sport. You know, British touring cars, World Touring Cars, European Touring Cars. He's got all the boxes ticked there. How do you keep driving yourself forwards, and how do you stay hungry? And as you say, Martin, you know, there's a lot of things in life which probably make this all fade into the background a little bit sometimes. So, you know, as you say, I'm sure he's still enjoying it, or else he wouldn't be here, but it must be quite hard to get that lifestyle balance quite right.
It's nice when it works, though, isn't it? I mean, that really is what underlines everything, what underpins everything is you know, happy life makes a happy boy, really. Here's our two Argentines then, Esteban Guerreri, Jose Maria Lopez. 15 years ago, these guys were racing in Europe in Formula Renault. They actually shared a house. So they know each other well. They go back a long way. They weren't always in the same team. They weren't always on the same grid, but their career paths have been really quite parallel. Junior single-seaters, they came out of karting. They both raced in Formula 3000. And when Jose Maria went to GP2, then Esteban went to World Series by Renault, and they've been race winners at every level in single-seaters. Esteban's also done Indy Lights before coming back to Argentina, just a few years behind Jose Maria Lopez into TC 2000. In fact, he's the reigning champion, just as Pachito was when he had his wildcard entry, as you said, with the Vika Sport BMW. And that was a sort of... That was a golden ticket almost, because it was a car that had untapped potential. I do feel that Campos Chevrolet still has the potential to be a very quick car, especially with one extra set of fresh tyres, a track he knows well. Okay, he doesn't know the car at all, but you know,
yeah, it's impressive though, isn't it? FP1 and 2, he's topped the timesheets, and as you say, Martin, a car that he's never even tested before. First time out, and you know, the new tyres, they will make a big difference, and he knows the circuit inside out, but these cars are pretty different to drive compared to what he's driven before, and we know Lopez said that when he jumped into the first World Touring car he drove, it was a big step. It's a big step change away from the TC 2000 cars, and you know, it's a lot to learn still, so yeah, I mean, great effort, and I'm sure we'll see him quick all weekend.
Now, in the 6 weekends since we were in Villarreal, when it was sunny, remember that? The teams have all been out testing. Citroën have had a couple of different tests. Hondo have tested. They tested in Barcelona. Lada tested in Aragon. So they've all been working a little bit in that sort of breathing space, because from the beginning of the season, I mean, because they don't finish in Macau anymore, because they finished in Qatar, the cars were at least, you know, a month closer by sea than they had been previously. So they got the cars back just after Christmas. But then, you know, we started racing in the beginning of March again, so the teams are in this real hurry-up offense, and they don't get a chance to test anything. And this has been the first real chance for testing during the season at all.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and this is the first time they fly away. The cars, they all left from Belgium after racing in Portugal there last time at Villarreal. They go from there, and it took them about, I think it was around 10 days to get over here by sea, courtesy of DHL, actually, as we can see on the side of Tom Coronel's car. They do all of the movement of the vehicles and the teams from one area to another. So this is where they've all come from Europe, and they've arrived here a couple of weeks ago and come through from Argentina and all the way down to here to Termas.
So just to remind everybody, first period of qualifying, 20 minutes for everybody. Then the fastest 12 go through into the second period of qualifying. And at some stage, hopefully on the screen, we'll be showing you who's in what positions. At the moment, you're just getting a single running clock. There we go. Esteban Guerreri fastest of all from the Honda of Rob Huff. James Thompson, Tom Coronel third and fourth. And that again underlines that the Chevrolet is definitely a potent package here. Thiago Montero fifth, Norbert Mikulich sixth. So we've got 3 Chevys and 3 Hondas in the top 6. Then we've got Tom Chilton, the best of the Citroëns, Muller, Lopez, Vallant, the best of the Ladas, ahead of Katzberg, de Moustier, Bernani, Dahlgren, and so on. So the Volvo's struggling here. Of course, the Volvos have never, ever, ever, ever raced in South America, ever. So they didn't go to Brazil. I didn't go to Brazil. I'm misleading myself there. I'm sure they didn't. So this is all very, very new to them. But interesting to see that Ladas are quite a long way further than back we might have imagined. Last year, first race weekend of the season in Argentina, but the Lada that stayed together, like the bits didn't fall off, i.e. Rob Huff's, it did look quite competitive. And it did look like this was the sort of circuit with all the twists and turns that should suit the Lada's chassis. But at the moment, they are struggling for pace, and that may well be because the good results they had in Moscow, the good results they had in Portugal 6 weeks ago, that suddenly they're sort of ramped up with 60 kilos of ballast.
Yeah, it certainly won't help, but I think it was at FP
50.
Yeah, I'm sure in one of the in FP1 we saw Tarquini up there in fourth, which isn't too bad. But yeah, you're right. But this kind of the layout of the circuit does suit the Lada quite well, because It's medium to high speed, so it works quite well on... We always know that the Larder's fast in a straight line. It's got a lot of aero, so it works well in these medium-style circuits. The Honda tends to be a bit shorter and better on the nippier type street circuity type things. And then you've got the Citroen, which is mega on GP circuits and big, fast, flat-out corners. So you could say that the Larder is fairly well suited to this, which is a bit of a master of both, really.
Or at least it should be, but at the moment they are struggling a little. Back in comes Esteban Guerreri, sitting on top of the timesheets at the moment. Rob Huff, James Thompson, second and third. So a stoppage now, they'd all be very happy with that. I think the Chevrolet people wouldn't be too disappointed. Chevy's 3 of the top 4 cars as well. But the gap from, well, first to, how far down shall we go? Well, a second covers the first 13 cars comfortably. 8/10 covers the first 13. So there is an awful lot of real estate still for some people to find. Now, a couple of parish notices. Already mentioned Esteban Guerreri. There is only one Zengo Motorsport Honda this weekend because Ferenc Fischer was rushed into hospital last week just before the weekend for an appendix operation. So he was really desperate to try and make it here, but unfortunately after appendicitis it's just not happening. He was struggling even to walk, never mind to sit in a race car. And of course, how tight the belts are, I imagine that.
Part 1 was too much rear locking, I think, and I lost the rear.
One of the things we find a lot at this track, turn 1 sort of looks quite open and tightens on towards the exit. I do find this is quite a low grip circuit. It's not the hottest race weekend, which will please a lot of people other than Citroen, I think, but you do often see the cars slipping and sliding around, and of course that's really, it exacerbates the problem. The more the rear slides, the more it slows you down. Halfway through our first period of qualifying, and John Philippi finally heads out on track, getting a little coaching advice from Ivan Muller. And I wonder if he will... Philippi always seems to go a lot better when you're on a conventional racetrack. When there's runoff areas, there's that little safety net, because he's still a young driver, still learning, and still learning the car as well. And when there's nowhere to go, Villarreal, Nürburgring, it's very easy to wreck your weekend very, very quickly, isn't it?
Those style circuits are very daunting to drive on as well. And as you say, Martin, Philippi's quite a young guy, fairly new to the championship, relatively new. He hasn't got the confidence, and obviously when he trashes his car as well, then it'll be coming out of his and his sponsor's pocket. So there'll also be an added pressure from that point of view, where, of course, obviously if one of the works drivers smashes a car up, it'll still cost money and they'll not be flavour of the month. But it's different when you've got to go to your sponsor and say, I'm really sorry, I've totaled that shell, so it means we're going to have to get some more money from somewhere else.
Dad.
Yeah.
Which, and let's, it kind of like with Tom and Max Chilton, it is a family company that has been putting the money in. Same with Greg de Moustier, his family company has been putting the money in. So, it is a justifiable advertising expense and so on and so on. But it is still money from the sponsor that has to go and fill the hole, and that's all, And the other thing is, if you go out and think, right, I've got this on the Nordschleife, and then you lose track of where you are, but you're still convinced you know where you are, you have the mother and father of all accidents, you learn nothing, and your confidence takes a half-season knock. And that's the real, as much as the financial side, strenuous though that is, it's what it does to the driver's head, especially with a young kid. That's a big problem as well. Yeah,
and with so many street circuits on the World Touring Car calendar, you can't get yourself too shaken up by it and too daunted by the fact that, there may be an incident there. But this is... It's interesting to see the Volvos. I know they've got a test here, haven't they, later in the week?
Right.
I think they're doing a bit of a test of a few of the Argentinian drivers for next season, because, as we know, Argentina is a massive market as a car market, huge. It's the biggest Spanish-speaking continent in the world. So big for all manufacturers. They need an Argentine driver who's going to do the job for them. So I know they are shaking down a few of the drivers later this week.
Well, championship boss Francois Ribeiro was saying that barely a day goes by where he doesn't have a manager of some Argentine driver on the phone going, hey, how can you make me the new Pachito? And, whoa, Nicky Katzberg, fresh from quite a torrid weekend at the Spa 24 Hours last weekend. There's his team boss, Viktor Shapovalov. And Nicky's car was quick, but didn't have the best of luck. Yeah, Spa 24 Hours, so a long, very sleep-deprived weekend, and then 30-odd hours to get to Argentina. I should think he doesn't know up from down at the moment, but car trying to back itself into turn one. Hugo Valente was saying after the break, you know, really have got to get my head around this car. It's very, very different to drive from the Chevrolet. He said it's actually much harder to get the speed out of it than it was out of the Chevrolet, which again, you know, just sort of underlines what you know and what a lot of the Chevy drivers know, is that it is, you know, like most racing cars, on the ragged edge. The Chevy is really hard to balance, but it is a very benign race car right until the last few hundredths of a second.
It's a smaller window, I think, is what he's kind of going for with the Lada, isn't it? It's probably ultimately a slightly quicker package now with a slow down in the development of the Chevy, but to max it out is more of a spike, more of a pinnacle than the Chevrolet, which might be a little bit easier to get to, and then, you know, it maybe isn't quite as quick when you actually are there.
Esteban Guerreri still fastest on his first run. He's only done 3 laps, so has Rob Huff, who sits in the pits, so has James Thompson, who sits on his time, and Esteban's lap was a 1:43.9. And faster than him finally goes Mehdi Benani. Saw somebody flirting with the dirt on the fast run up to corner 12 in the background. It was just a big blur and a cloud of dust, and that was Ivan, I would have thought, then, as he comes across the line. He goes faster now. So Guerreri, Huff and Thompson down to 3rd, 4th and 5th. So 1:43.79 from Benani to 1:43.99 for Guerreri. And Chilton goes quicker, Coronel goes quicker. So the Chevrolet's still looking fast. Tom Coronel did a little video thing with Esteban Guerrero going, hey, this new kid's kicked my ass. He was first in free practice 1. Tom was 12th. Yeah. So, right, okay.
Well, you can see Coronel and Chilton, they're normally those guys, and Benani who are around that top 10, 12 area. So this first part of qualifying Q1, this is really important. Oh, big slide there for Lopez. We did hear him on the radio before saying he was struggling with the back end a little bit, so maybe more evidence of that. But just to go back to those guys, they need to put their lap in now in Q1 and make sure that they're well ahead of the game against the other guys who are in that area.
So who are we going to lose at the moment? We're going to lose Tarquini, who's only 18th. We're going to lose Daniel Nudge, who's 17th. We're going to lose Robert Dahlgren and Ted Björk, the 2 Volvos. We're going to lose Gregoire de Moustier and Nicky Katzberg. So Katzberg, the only, well, apart from the Volvos, he's the 3rd Lada drivers, of course. He's down in, oh no, of course, Tarquini's there as well. So at the moment, only Hugo Valente would go through for Lada in the top 12. 4.5 minutes.
Yeah,
how many laps has Hugo done?
They're going to have to get a wriggle on.
So Hugo's had 2 runs on the tyres, and for Tarquini or Katzberg to get in, they must bump their teammate. It's a fairly invidious position to be in, isn't it? It's either you or the other guy. Well, obviously it's not going to be the other guy if you can help it.
Now I wonder if they've gone out on lesser tyres, with Tarquini's quite fast pace in FP2 there. You know, maybe they've gone out on a lesser set of tyres just to see where they're at against everybody else, and maybe they're saving a set for a final run right at the end. But we've certainly got to hope so if you're a Lada fan. Yeah,
better hurry up. It's a 1:45-ish lap, so there's 2.5 of them left, or an out lap and a fast lap. There is time at the moment, but if your car is up in the air with no tyres on it, you want to hope that the guys are really getting things going. Daniel Nudge in the background in the Zengo Motorsport Honda. As we said, the second car is here, but because Ferenc Fischer had this appendicitis and an operation and wasn't due to travel, Zoltan Zengo has only come with 6 team guys. Now, there was a hope that they would get the second car running for a Uruguayan driver, Mauricio Lambiris, and they were trying to put a deal together, but then unfortunately Norbert Naj's car hit an engine problem. They've had to change the engine. He's going to start at the back of the grid, by the way, so his time is neither here nor there as far as he's concerned. So he's at the back of the grid for an engine penalty, but they then didn't have enough time to get the other car absolutely set up and ready to go, so unfortunately only one of the Zengo Motorsport Hondas on track. Nicky Kasberg hustling the Lada along, currently 13th place. Timo Hugo Valente is in front of him. Esteban Guerreri has gone faster again than Lopez and Muller. He really is chalking up the ticks in the take that you lot box, isn't he? He's gone quickest again on his second run. So he was faster than everybody on his first run on new tyres, that he doesn't know, that he's never raced on, in a car he's never seen before, and he's gone faster than everybody again in his second run on new tyres.
Sectors 2 and 3 is where he's really made the time up against his rivals, so that's the quick stuff. So that's kind of what we've seen with the Chevy as well. It's very stable in those high-speed corners and changes of direction as well. So the Chevy is actually showing a good turn of pace this weekend.
Kasberg down to turn 5, all in very deep, trying to square off the corner, really triangulate it and get a good fast run through the long sweeping left-hander at turn 6. You come just into a downhill braking area then for turn 7. And Lopez said you always think you can brake later than you really can, because the track starts to drop away again. You can see Kasberg's car starting to slide a little under him, but that all helps the front wheels a bit.
Quite a lot of oversteer we're seeing from the Ladas there, isn't it? This is one of those circuits where you get some fantastic camera views of the cars getting a little bit loose on brakes.
Love this little 9, 10, 11 sequence, little roller coaster, like the cars over the brow and popping in and out.
There, he lost the back. You could see as he turned in, the back just went slightly middle of the corner. He came back to him and then drifted away again on the exit. But he's really struggling with rear end grip there.
It's a little bit longer than, is it the Nürburgring sequence or Imola sequence at Magny-Cours? They've got a section out the back, haven't they, which is much quicker but sort of dips into a depression. That's just always such a great, but that 9, 10, 11 sequence is such a great view here. There's James Thompson, again in the All-Inkle Motorsport Chevrolet, and Tomo currently down to 9th place, but that should be enough to get him through. What about the Volvos?
Big slide from the back from Bjork there again. Yeah, more rear end movement.
Haven't even seen Dahlgren yet. Thiago Monteiro 11th, 0.3 away, and Ted Bjork 0.7 away in the first sector. Here comes Thiago, winner of the last race in the World Touring Car Championship to date this season, of course, won the second race in Villarreal, and there, for just one moment, when they're on the podium in the amphitheatre with everybody going mental and, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people cheering his name and chanting his name, Norbert Michelis was beside him, just looking over going, now you know what it's like. Now you've got a taste for it.
And it was an absolutely amazing feeling, you know, one of those rare moments in sport where the entire crowd goes crazy for the local hero. It was fantastic to be part of that.
Well, you saw Gabriele Tarquini shaking his head as he walked away from the Lada. Björk and Dahlgren will be shaking their heads. Daniel Naj, he knows he's starting at the back of the grid anyway, so for him it's important laps because, of course, he's never been here before. So, as for Björk and for Dahlgren, that's the problem there too. Grégoire de Moustier just in front of Gabriele Tarquini in 14th place. This was where de Moustier made his World Touring Car debut. Of course, that was the first race weekend last year. Norbert Michelis still on the flyer. So too is Grégoire de Moustier. So de Moustier is not taking the checkered flag, and he is in the green.
And Katzberg as well. Katzberg's
12th place is 1.2 seconds away from pole. So he's 0.7 away at the end of the second sector. This might be good.
Yeah,
Norby should be in.
De Moustier is, as you say, Martin, he's definitely on a lap here.
Katzberg's in the pits. De Moustier's gone through into 10th place, so he bumps Valente. Valente is out. James Thompson 12th in the end, skin of his teeth. But here comes Hugo Valente. He's not yet taken the checkered flag. 0.9 away. Is it going to be anything to get him into the top 12, or will all three Ladas be out? Katzberg is out, Tarquini is out. They are 13th, 14th and 15th at the moment. Valente 13th. Is there anything left in his tyres? A second run on this set of tyres, I think. This is like his 9th lap, and across the line, not enough. 13th, 14th, 15th for the Larders. Unfortunately, I'm sure they had a feeling from free practice that might be the case. So the extra weight on the car, it does not absorb the weight the way that the Citroën does, the way that the Chevrolets did for so many years either.
Yeah, it's difficult to make the car work carrying that extra ballast, and as you say, man, we've seen the Larders struggle with it earlier in the year, and then obviously again today. But it's good to see Thompson up there in the Q2, and you know, Felipe as well. It's nice to see some guys up there that we don't normally necessarily see up there.
So we've got Argentines first and second, Norby third for Honda, then Ivan, then Tom Coronel, second best of the Chevys. He's in 5th place. Montero, Chilton, Bonani, Huff, de Moustier, Philippi and Thompson will join them. So the top 12 go through. And after Thompson, the 3 Larders, the 2 Volvos and the single Zengo Honda will not go through into Q2.
This is not where I expect to see you, Nicky. What's going on out there? What's wrong with these cars?
I don't know. The balance doesn't feel too bad. Actually, it feels quite nice, but we just seem to lack. I think what is clear is that the Chevy shouldn't have 0 kilo because they're just too fast at the moment. So hopefully for next time on it will be a bit more equal again. But yeah, I feel bad. It's bad not to go to Q2. So yeah, not happy.
Frustrating.
Second period qualifying getting underway as the Hondas lead the field out onto this circuit at Termas de Rio Hondo, the 4th race weekend for World Touring Cars here in Argentina. And the entire Lada team, the entire Volvo team and the Zengo Motorsport Honda have not made it through into Q2. However, the factory Hondas have, the factory Citroëns have, the privateer Citroëns have, and Harry, the Chevrolets have all made it through, including our wildcard, Esteban Guerreri, who was fastest in free practice 1, fastest in free practice 2, has now gone fastest in Q1. This could be a Jose Maria Lopez weekend. Of course, this is exactly... Now everybody's going, oh, right, well, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again. You know, and I know he would love it to happen, but he must be desperate to try and avoid that pressure starting to get to him. Yeah,
it's got to be tough, and you know, like if one of the things we've seen him, he's clearly had the speed so far all weekend in the free practices and now qualifying. Well, the early parts of qualifying, I should add, because as we know, by the time we're in Q1, when everyone really starts showing their pace, that's when we'll know where we're at. Got a bit of team radio coming up from Lopez.
Yeah, now P1 is 0.15 seconds faster. 0.15. Okay.
Okay.
Forget about him, we cannot fight him. way too far. Forget it.
Well, listen, let's be realistic. His engineer getting on to say, you know, what the gap was to P1, Esteban Guerreri, in the first period of qualifying. And Lopez, you know, perhaps rightly saying, you know, we're 80 kilos heavier. We know the Chevy is still a good car. All right, it's sort of stood still for the last couple of seasons. Well, it didn't last year. I mean, there were developments, but it hasn't really been pushed on in the way that the Citroën has or the Honda has.
No.
But, you know, okay, let's not bother about it. He's not going to be in any of the other races. Doesn't matter how many points he scores now. I've still got 101 points advantage. Let's just go out, win the races if we can, second if we can't, third if we can't do that. You know, take the points, get the championship, get the team's championship, the manufacturer's championship for Citroën, and take another step closer to that third world title. And that's exactly the way he's got to approach it, isn't it?
And let's not forget, you know, we've seen the Chevy win already this season with ballast on board, albeit from a reverse grid in Morocco. But yeah, we know the Chevy's still quick, and it'd be right not to get too hung up about trying to chase him down. It must be tempting, though, as we say, you know, he was a former teammate, also a housemate. It must be very tempting to have the attitude, why you can't come here and kind of come to my party and tell me who's eating cake.
And you know what? If he hadn't done the same to everybody else, he might have that attitude. You know, if he'd done C-Elysée and Euro Cup and European Touring Car Cup and, you know, all of that, and hadn't come into this as a wild card with no expectations, no preconception, just, yes, all right, okay, I'll come and do it, yes, okay, you know. And it's on those little turns of a card that your life changes around, and his has certainly changed, you know, very, very dramatically in the last 3 seasons. But you know, he does understand that it's a great opportunity for Argentine motorsport, for Guerreri himself. As he said, you know, he's a guy that he's sort of grown up in the same sphere with. They may not be bosom buddies. I don't think they're deadly enemies by any stretch of imagination. They haven't spent a lot of time together. But, you know, to see a compatriot doing that, you know, imagine if it was Rob Huff and he'd come in this way, and then Tomo came, you know, with a wildcard entry at a British race. He'd be going, yeah, I hope it really works for him. Because you genuinely would.
Especially as the outgoing driver who's already won, you know, numerous championships and is looking fairly well set to win this one as well. You know, he can't be too bitter. I'm sure he'll be wanting his countrymen to also do well and probably take over the mantle when he leaves.
Well, and that is the other salient part, isn't it? He's not worrying about whether he's going to win next year with this new guy coming in, because we know he's not going to be here next year. He's going to be off doing other things. So that's another thing. You know, if he suddenly pops up testing for Formula E, then he's going to be, hang on a minute,
yeah.
he's just following me. Or, you know, if he starts doing LMP2 tests or LMP1 tests, then suddenly, okay, all right, that's a little bit different. But yeah, you know, another, you know, in the same way that the British drivers in the championship do feel good when for each other when they do well. They do, and the same, you know, the same with all the different nationalities. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the same reason Ivan is helping out John Philippi, because he's a young French driver. You know, Ivan knows that while he doesn't want to give it up, he's not going to be around another 25 years as the bright-eyed young thing for France. So let's try and put something back in, get some of the other guys a little boost up. Guerreri shows again that he has got the pace, goes faster. Don't forget, this is really kind of going to be quite tough to get a second run in. Only 4.5 minutes remaining. Guerreri, Lopez, Muller, Mikulic, Bernani and Huff. So 3 Citroëns, 1 Chevrolet at the top, and 2 Hondas in the top 6. And don't forget, only 5 go through to Q3.
Fairly interesting fact about his number. You know, there's a lot of discussion around why drivers choose different numbers, but Guerreri's number 86 because that was the year that Argentina last won the FIFA World Cup.
Ah. When it still had some currency. And that was that the Hand of God? No, that wasn't the Hand of God season, was it? Well, I don't know.
I think it might have been, yeah.
I mean, particularly appropriate in Olympic week. De Moustier a second away. This isn't going to be good enough for the top 5, but of course, don't forget that if you're 11th or 12th, that is locked in for both races. And at the moment, he would start 12th for both. John Philippi was 0.83 away at the end of the lap. So this is not a good lap for Grégoire de Moustier. He needs to keep going and try and find a bit more pace. There's his team on the pit wall. Tyre warmers coming off. Thiago Monteiro on the radio.
There's a small mistake on corner 11. I can do better. Let's try again.
That's interesting because the Hondas do look like they're struggling a little bit with only Michelet's the only Honda at the minute inside that top 5 to get through to Q3. You know, it's not looking ideal for her, for Monteiro.
Well, also out of that group are Coronel, Chilton, Thompson. Top 10 at the end of Q2 will be the top 10 for the first race of the weekend, the opening race. And then that's the wrong way around. Inverted will be, the top 10 inverted for the first race. So at the moment, James Thompson, 10th place, Tom Chilton, 9th place. It would be an all-British front row for the opening race with Esteban Guerreri starting in 10th. However, the top 5 in this session then go through into the final single car shootout, and that would then define the top 5 for the main race grid, the second encounter. And at the moment, it certainly looks as though Guerreri, if he's got tyres left, has enough pace to start the main race from pole position. And that would really kind of echo, but for a different reason, what happened with Paquito Lopez. When Lopez came in with the Vika Sport BMW, top 10 were reversed for the second race grid, and so he ended up getting onto the front row for the second race rather than the first race. In the first race, he started at the back because he started at the bottom of the top. He qualified at the bottom of the top 10. Here, Guerreri will be qualifying at the top of the top 10, but starting in the same positions, you know, at the back end of the top 10 in race 1, top end of the top 2 in the main race, race 2.
Some proper one-upmanship in Argentina.
Yeah, well, you know, the parallels are there already, aren't they? They're starting to rack up a little bit. Tom Chilton waiting to take his turn, or is he going out? Saw Nick on the pit wall, his engineer, sort of standing and looking over at Tom's car and talking on the radio. So I wonder if there's a little issue there, because that wasn't Nick, I don't think, with his head in the door, but somebody was.
Well, maybe they looked at it and thought de Moustier is in the pits, maybe with a problem, because he's not gone back out with 36 seconds to go, so he's not going to make it round for another lap. Maybe they're taking the gamble and saying Felipe isn't going to go faster than Thompson, so we'll just sit pretty and...
Well, they're, front row starters for the opening race, so maybe just take that. They maybe, you know, bottom of the top 10 was what they were shooting for. Thiago Monteiro, though, pushing hard to try and get into the top 5.
This is the one to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
We know he's on one here.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if Huffy's coming back out as well.
Huffy didn't look like he was going back out at the same time as Thiago. His car was still there. That's Lopez. Oh, that's Muller in the background. There's Duncan in the red jacket, the head of engineering at Honda, or in this Honda World Touring Car program at least. And has Thiago got what it takes? 1600s away in the first sector. And to get into the top 5, he's got to complete the lap within half a second, essentially, of Esteban Guerreri. So the second split may well tell us what we need to know.
That is a personal best for Thiago, though.
Ooh, trouble here. Look at this. Tom Coronel, 38 thousandths away on the first sector. Coronel is going to put himself into the top 5. And behind, Ivan Muller is using a lot of road, trying to hang on.
Filippi's also out, and he's just done his personal best sector 1 as well.
Oh, it's all happening. Well, if Chilton's not on track now, checker flag's out. It doesn't matter. Coronel, 3,500s behind, and Thiago Monteiro goes 5th, but it may not be enough. Muller goes 2nd quickest, so Monteiro's been bumped. Muller 2nd, Lopez 3rd, Coronel 4th, Michelet is 5th, Huff up 2, but only 6th as they cross the line, and Filippi is going to be the pole sitter. Our DHL pole sitter for the opening race in Argentina will be the young Frenchman John Filippi, unless James Thompson's got a lap here. No, he's a second away already. Lopez goes right to the top of the pile, digs one out of the special draw, and James Thompson. There you saw Dominic Grider. Of course, it was Dominic who's the team chief at Vika Sport with Jose Maria Lopez 3 seasons ago, and he has just seen Tomo bumped off the front row. It will be John Philippi, who is the DHL pole sitter for the opening race in Argentina 2016.
That's a great effort.
Wow.
Philippi's been improving all season long. He is getting there, and that's going to be a big feather in his cap to usurp Thompson in the same car.
And I tell you what, those Campos guys, you know the other car they're running here, don't you? They could end up with pole position for both races here.
Yeah,
look at Guerreri, only a tenth slower than Lopez. That's going to be a really good battle. Single lap, nobody else getting in the way, no traffic.
And of
Lopez will go last, scoreboard pressure.
Yeah, and of course that will have helped Filippi this weekend as well. He'll have had Guerrera's data to look at, which will definitely drag him along and give him something to focus on.
See how much faster you can go here, and here.
Oh, that corner really is flat.
Plus a little bit of, a little bit of massage from Ivan Muller, and just that. And again, like we said, the confidence of knowing there's some runoff area there, so you can really push it. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference, If you know you're going to have a big accident, if you get it wrong, you tend to back away from the edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, very good.
Heading into our final period of qualifying here at Termas de Rio Hondo in Argentina. We have lost our 3 Works Ladas, our 2 Works Volvos, and we have a new pole sitter.
Absolutely ridiculous. Smiles everywhere. What a great start. Pole position. I believe your last pole position for the opening race was in Thailand last year? Qatar. Great lap.
Yeah, not bad. The last sector I did a mistake, so I can do it a bit more fast, but it was enough, so this is the most important. But one time I think it was too tight, so I was scared and I wait all the lap, and my team tell me it's okay, and tell me just when I was in the pit. So
last year when you were in Qatar, you had quite a difficult start, so obviously the pressure is on for tomorrow. But feeling positive?
Yeah, I learned something last year, so now this year I will do all my best. With this car, we did a very bad start every time, we see Coronel win this year 2 times like this, so why not me?
Why not indeed? Thanks, John.
So John Philippi, half a season away from his first pole position, is now our DHL pole sitter for the opening race in Argentina. As we get ready for our 5-car single-lap shootout, long faces at Lada, the extra weight that they are carrying after a couple of successful weekends. Of course, they had 1-2 results in both races in Moscow, and then they were on the podium again in Villarreal in Argentina.
Not higher front pressure and an easy outlap. Let's see what happens. Or an easier outlap.
So he's saying easy outlap there because of his tyre pressure. So maybe they're running. He must be running a high tyre pressure, so that he's basically getting obviously one stab lap, which we know anyway, but perhaps slightly higher than you would normally run.
And he's being easier on it, so it doesn't overheat too early. Doesn't get too much heat into it. Of course, it's a fine balance, isn't it, Harry? When you've only got one lap, if it's not right at the beginning, then you're just giving time away.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very fine line, and I'm not sure whether there's more pressure being the first guy out or the last guy out, but you know you can't make a mistake, and if you're going to make one, it's on that one lap which actually really counts.
I think all the pressure in these situations comes from within, doesn't it? Whether it's positive or negative, if you're worried that you may not produce the lap, I think these guys are all now seeing it as a great opportunity to give themselves a really flying start to the main race. It's around the long hairpin.
Obviously not wanting to take, as you can see, he's taking it very, very easy around there on that front left.
I was going to say, you and I can both drive that speed. You can easily drive that speed. I could almost manage that speed and probably not crash it. I'm not guaranteeing, but probably not crash it. It is very pedestrian pace here, but it's all about management, all about managing the tyre temperature, managing the pressure, so that when he leans on it out of corner 14 across the line, there is all the grip he needs.
We've seen a few times as well where the guys have made a mistake because of this as well. Like get the slingshot now from that final corner.
So here we go, out of 13, the left-hand kick, corner 14. The clock starts running now. Across the line comes Norman Mikulec. One of the shortest front straights in the championship, already into the braking for turn 1. And it is the back stretch, really, that is a long one. Turn 1 tightens on you, just tries to make the tail drift out wide, and it catches most people. Short shoot up to turn 2. This is a 4th gear corner, down into 3rd, and then building acceleration on the exit, because, Harry, this right-hand kink onto the bend-away back straight is really important for top speed.
Super important. It drops away off camber as well, so that the car's getting pulled out towards the outside, and we've seen this as a really, really good overtaking opportunity in the race as well. So normally the exit to that corner can really line you up for a pass or to be passed.
Down into 2nd gear, long turn 5. Again, the exit important because this is quick stuff as well through corner 6, the left-hander, and just a little climb and then diving down towards turn 7.
Big stop here. The tight right.
Ooh, gets in quite deep, but that looked neatly controlled. The tail end following the front wheels, which you sort of think that they probably do all the time, but of course they just don't, do they?
This is where we see the elevation changes as the car goes over that little crest on the top there and back down, then back up again. It's a great little section of corners, that.
Great little sequence, especially with that cresting the rise. It's not a massive rise, you know. It's
a bit of a wobble there. Do you see that? Just starting to break away from the back end.
Through turn 12 to 13, and again tightens up on the exit. Got to get the power down and drive through 14 to the line. So Norby across the line, 143, 245. Well, he'll be 6th to 10th somewhere for the opening race, and 1 to 5 somewhere for the main race. So next up is Tom Coronel for Royal Motorsport. Alberto Ravaglia running a car in the 24 Hours of Spa last weekend as well. He was in really good form. So it's an event that Ravaglia, as a driver and as team boss, has been involved with a long time. I wouldn't even want to know how many years he's done the Spa 24.
Now, we'd probably expect this, but obviously that lap from Norby was the fastest lap we've seen all day. Faster for the first time. We didn't see this in Q2. Nobody had actually gone faster than Esteban Guerrero's first free practice 2 lap. So that's the first lap we've seen, only by 0.002 as well, but shows how much pace these Chevys do actually have in them.
Absolutely. So let's see what Coronel can produce. And of course, the first split will be last lap for Norby, a 41.581. And just as they get onto the brakes, they get out of timing sector 1. So just by the curb, it'll drift in.
Coronel,
71 thousandths of a second in front. See, this is why we have to have electronic timing, because to the naked eye, you couldn't even remotely stand any chance of separating them.
Chevy looks super stable, doesn't it? It looks...
Really does. I mean, it's such a great chassis, that RML-built car. Just trying to bring off as little speed as possible. 48 thousandths up. The gap has come down. This is going to be very, very close indeed. Norba Michelis cruising back to the pits. He'll already be in, won't he? Coronel driving towards the line. 143, 245, 284 for Coronel. 39 thousandths of a second behind. Citroën Zivar Muller on his warm-up lap in Termas de Rio Hondo. Third of our 5 cars in the top 5 shootout. And Harry Volkard, we haven't seen Ivan too often really producing the quick laps this season. This would be a great opportunity for him to really rattle the establishment, if you like.
Yeah, it could be a good opportunity. While Lopez is focusing on Guerrero, perhaps this could be the opportunity for Muller to throw a little surprise out there as well.
After Muller, just 2 Argentine drivers remain. One in a Citroën, one in a Chevrolet. So Van will certainly want to be in front of Norba Michelis in the Honda. He will certainly want to be in front of Tom Coronel in the Chevrolet. Despite the fact that the Citroën is carrying 80 kilos, the Honda with 60 kilos. So Honda is carrying plenty of weight as well.
You could see the split there into turn 2 there, where he hit the brake that hard, the dive in the nose of the car, and then you can actually hear the splitter catching the ground in the middle of the corner.
You can hear it in the corner, Scott. You can hear as it's rubbing on the road. Well, let's hope that that doesn't imply a ride height issue. We haven't heard that this season. Cars must have a minimum legally required ride height. And either they've engineered a lot of dive or engineered out a bit of anti-dive.
Yeah, watch the dive there. That's when you hear it, and then it's just as it turns in, you can just hear it skittering a little bit. But obviously the ride height is checked at stationary, so it's kind of, you can allow the car to run that low. And it's ideal because it'll dive and it creates more aero downforce on the front as well. Yeah,
Citroën always like to run a big rake on the car. See how much higher the rear of the floor is compared to the front. And of course, like ground effect cars, that expansion gap under the car just helps with the downward pressure from aerodynamics. 1200s up to 47 thousandths up. This is going to be, oh, that's a mistake. Loses traction, bobbles over the grass. I think Norby might have this. He does have this. And Muller's not even beaten Coronel. Oh.
It's amazing. That tiny little touch of the dirt on the inside there looked like it cost him 0.2 of a second, which is null and voided all the advantage he gained in the first 2 sectors, which he'll be absolutely kicking himself about, because he'd driven a pretty perfect lap till that point.
And you think, OK, well, if he cuts the corner, if it's slightly shorter, why is it not so quick? Because he ran over those things, the wheels are bouncing up in the air, and then they're spinning up all that dirt. They're not producing traction, they're just making a dusty cloud.
Well, that was in turn 13 as well, and that's right in the traction zone, just here, just where he really needs to pit. You can see he's off the brake, he's on power, so that's just the tiny little bit of wheel spin he'll have gathered from there, and that's a sprint over to the line, so just that little bit of traction, like you said, Martin, it just cost you. It's only a short run, but enough.
OK, so 2 Argentines left to slug it out. Our new boy, Esteban Guerreri. And regular Eurosport viewers will have seen a lot of Guerreri over the years in various different single-seater categories. Most recently, he's been racing in Super TC 2000 here in Argentina. He is the reigning champion, as was Jose Maria Lopez when he made his wildcard debut here 3 seasons ago. 4 seasons ago, of course, because our 4th visit, 3 seasons in between, whatever. Well, Guerreri with the lighter of the 2 cars, but of course, before this week, he had not driven a TC1 car. He had not driven this Campos Racing Chevrolet. He does race front-wheel drive cars, but they are 350 horsepower V8s. Car 86 under investigation. Not respecting pit exit lights. Well, under investigation means he went through a red light, and that means that the lap is going to be null and void.
10th and a half up so far, though. It'd be a shame for it to be disqualified for something like that, but rules is rules.
It will be, I'm afraid. If they're investigating it, it's because it was reported to have happened, so it might come down to fractions of a second. What will have happened is the team didn't put him down on the ground and get him out of the pit lane quickly enough within the 20 seconds allocated in which to do that. So unfortunately, a very, very good lap so far from Esteban Guerreri. Nearly 1600s up on Norbert Mikulits. So there is Norby, Rob Huff in the background. 3/10 up. This is a stellar lap, and unfortunately, it does look like a bit of a miscue on the timing by the team and/or driver to get out of the pit lane. Either he was out too early, in which case he's gone through a red light, or too late, in which case he's gone through a red light. If he went through a green light, I don't know what they could possibly, unless he crossed over the white line on the exit, but he goes 3800s quicker. But I'm not sure that that will stand, which is a real shame.
It is. It'd be great to see him up there, but it's one of the things, isn't it? The rules are there for a reason, and if he has gone through a red light, then there's no amber light. It's red or green, you know, as you said, Martin. It's kind of it's a rule that is there for a reason, and unfortunately, it looks like he may well have breached that.
So we come down to our final shot now. Guaranteed, Lopez will have been told on the radio that Guerreri went quickly but is under investigation. Don't worry about him, and he won't be worrying about him. Lopez doesn't worry about anybody else or what they're doing, because it can't materially affect what he does. All he does is does what he does what he does.
It was interesting to see Lopez really throwing the car around there. He's really flinging it around on that outlap, which is something like we discussed with Mikulits. You know, they normally try and avoid that because they're running the higher pressures, just to not take too much life off the tyre just on that opening lap.
Now, he's complained about the back being a bit wayward. Was he throwing it around to try and make sure he's got enough heat in the rear tyres rather than the front?
Yeah, it could well be. And of course, the tyres in World Touring Car come from a tyre warmer, but it's more the pressure that you're trying to gain, trying to increase the tyre pressure, which obviously retains the temperature a little bit better as well.
Yeah. So Jose Maria Lopez, 1700s behind Esteban Guerreri, but that will be in front of Norbert Mikulits. So we're seeing Guerreri split, but actually we want to see him against Norby's, which was a 41.5 first sector split. Our timing screen chooses an inopportune moment to die, as always is the case. It's getting darker and darker, isn't it?
It does. It looks like it's going to rain.
That could put the
there we go. 41
Chat Entrelait Pigeon demain.
41.581, 39.592, and a 22.072. So he is actually slightly behind in sector 1.
Yep.
Than Norby.
And a 39.59. So the on-screen timing shows him a quarter of a second behind Guerrieri. I think Norby might have pole out of this if Guerrieri's penalised. At the moment, Lopez may not make it through to the top of the pile.
Lopez, P2.
Has he backed out of it?
P2.
Okay,
there.
so Guerrieri's lap has been disallowed. Lopez goes second, so he will have pole for the main race. So unfortunately, premature celebration there from the guys at Campos Racing. They miscued on the timing. There is a distinct and definite time in which each driver may leave the pit lane. That's to stop people going out too early and ruining each other's laps. Slovakia. Unfortunately, Guerrieri's time has been disallowed. He will start 5th on the main race grid. He will start 6th on the opening race grid. Lopez, of course, will be 10th on the opening race grid, but he will be our DHL pole sitter for the main race of Argentina. Now, it's still not beyond the bounds of possibility that, as in 2014, Lopez could win both races. Of course, 2 years ago, when he was on pole and won the opening race, then the rules for the second race were different. You started with that first race, and then you could do whatever you liked in the second race to try and get to the front, and he managed it. And unfortunately, for Esteban Guerrieri, he will lose his lap, and he will start in 5th position.
One of the fantastic things about this circuit as well is there is a lot of overtaking opportunity. There's a massive straight which you can get a great streamline on. It's really hard to get a good exit because it comes out with tight left and then onto a fairly fast flowing right into a long right, and then you're on the massive straight. We've seen over the years loads of slipstreaming going on there, and it does offer a big opportunity to pass.
Yeah, properly does. So Jose Maria Lopez on pole, but the fastest man again in this session, as he was in free practice 1, as he was in free practice 2. I still think he'll be on the middle of both race grids, the middle of the top 10. I still think Esteban Guerrieri has an opportunity to finish on the podium both times out here. Maybe the win just a fraction further away, but nothing is impossible.
And he was only, I mean, he was 2 tenths ahead of Lopez.
Yeah.
But Lopez obviously put an absolutely stunning lap in there to be 2 tenths ahead of Michelitz as well. So, you know, Guerrieri is almost 4 tenths of a second faster per lap than person in P2. So there is a great opportunity there.
He everybody for pace, didn't he? Umbrellas are up, look. Yeah, they just got that done in time, didn't they? Well, you saw Jose Maria Lopez, fiancée Victoire, looking very happy in the back of the garage. And, of course, you know, his... occasionally, his mum, his dad, friends from Argentina managed to get to some of the European races. It'll just be everybody who's ever known him, ever met him, ever supported him will be here. Sunday is going to be absolutely monstrously heaving, whatever the weather forecast. And I'm not sure it's going to be entirely that brilliant. Our DHL pole sitter for the main race will be Jose Maria Lopez. He will want to send the crowd home very happy. And Esteban Guerrieri will start in 5th position for that one. He'll be 6th on the grid for the opening race of the weekend, because John Philippi and Tom Chilton will start 1st and 2nd. James Thompson, Gregoire Dumoustier 11th and 12th for both races, and from there on down 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. That's where everybody starts for both races. There is no redemption if qualifying goes wrong after, in the current qualifying regulations. It is all geared towards the front of the field rather than to the hosts who have an issue. If you have an issue, you pay for it twice. Well, there is our pole sitter. Not the fastest man, but that's not always the way it works. He was the 2nd fastest man. At least he was in front of Norbert Michelis. Otherwise, Norby would be starting on pole position.
Yeah, and you know, we touched on it before, but the Chevy is 80 kilos lighter than the Citroen, and that's it doesn't sound like that much, but that's a passenger. You know, I'm carrying a couple of extra pounds, and I'm 84 kilos. So, sorry, that's a lie. I'm 94 kilos.
Makes a big difference, though, doesn't it? Does make a big difference. Makes a difference to the way the car handles, the way it stops, the way it corners, the way it accelerates. Every single aspect is slightly blunted. every aspect apart from the soft contents. And the soft contents continues to do a stunning job. Pachito's won 6 of the 14 races this year already, including both races at the Nordschleife. It's certainly not beyond the bounds of possibility that he could make it 8 from 16 before tomorrow is finished. He's won 4 of the 6 races we've had in Argentina, including on his debut.
It's proving Nigel Mansell's half a second a lap extra at your home circuit theory, isn't it, I think?
Well, actually, one of the things that Esteban Guerreri pointed out was this is the first time he's ever partaken in an international race in his home country. Every race he's done in Argentina has been a national race, even Super TC 2000. And it's been a long while since international motor racing was rallying, yes, absolutely, but international motor racing, you know, he and Pachito have used this opportunity to really build.
You have made the fans very, very happy. Pachito, you are pole man for the main race here in Argentina. Congratulations.
I'm really happy. Really sorry for Esteban, you know, but this is like this. You need to be careful everywhere. And when they told me he went out with the red lights, I knew something was going to happen. So I took it a little bit easy in sector 1, and then, you know, the car felt very good. Again, a fantastic job from the team. A little step forward to our main objective. So really happy to make it here. You know, it's always difficult. You know, I'm really happy that we show again as Argentinian the quality of driver. Esteban, what he has done is been amazing. I knew it. It's easy to say it, but I knew it. So, you know, we will see tomorrow. Still 2 long races, but 5 more points in the championship. Looking good. Ivan is there as well, so we hope we can do a good weekend here in front of everybody. So, gracias. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Muy bien, huh? Fantastic job by Pachito. And he said, yeah, you know, it's easy to say, I knew he could do it. But he does, you know, they've raced in parallel in the same series and shared houses and all that stuff. You know where other drivers are. You know which ones are good in your home country, especially when you're away in Europe. You know, there can't be many Argentines racing at the same time as you, so you follow their career. You do know. Lopez takes 5 points and extends his championship advantage again. He's now 106 clear of his closest rival.
Tanda, con gomas nuevas, es un gran piloto, ¿qué voy a decir de Esteban? No puedo decir más que halagos lo que nos ha representado en el país, lo que hace acá en Argentina, es un top 5 de los pilotos argentinos hoy en día.
It sucks indeed. So the words that he's just said, a very, very frustrating result here. You were lit up in purples, but sadly not for very long.
No. Well, it was something that very small details that we couldn't fix, let's say, with the team altogether. There is no blame. I just left the pits, my pits. We are almost in the back of the pits, thinking that we were gonna get the green light, but we got it sooner, and we did that because my clutch, my first gear wouldn't go to neutral all day. We had a problem there. We couldn't fix it, and well, we decided this, and then there was a misunderstanding between my engineer telling me slow down. I didn't have a radio because it didn't work in that moment, so it was like it is. I mean, there is nothing to do. All the good thing I can say or I can feel is that
my best lap was in my last lap of the day, which I'm happy with this. I always want to improve and do the best I can in my last attempt with new tires, and so I did that, and I'm happy with this. I'm a bit gutted with not with this lap getting pole, but it's life. I'm very pleased with all the Campos Racing team. We are doing an amazing job, and they really deserve the best.
And you just have to shoot through in the race. Thank you, Esteban.
Thank you.